Welcome to the Nurse to Nurse podcast, where we'll have inspiring and innovative conversations from one nurse to another, helping you leverage your experience, expertise, and education to build your personal brand and start a coaching practice. And now, here to help you unleash your magic in the world, your host, Starshema.
So I am sitting here at my office desk like, oh my gosh, is this shit really happening? Like, did we just do this together? Like, I feel like right now it's like, ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move. Y'all, I'm sorry. Y'all know I'm not no singer, but here we are. Welcome to the final episode of season 1 on the Nurse to Nurse podcast. Let me just have a moment, y'all. I just want to tell you, thank you so much for leaning in these last months of launching the Nurse to Nurse podcast. It means so much to me to have had your listening ear, to have had your attention, to have had the feedback and communication with you along the way. Let me just share a little bit with you of why I wanted to launch the Nurse to Nurse podcast. Well, let me just be honest. Can I be honest with you? I don't know why the hell I wanted to do it. It was something that dropped in my spirit. I am a very intuitive kind of woman. I will move a lot as I feel in my spirit to do so. And this was one of those moves. I've had a podcast in the past. I let it go and I decided to bring my podcasting back because the very thing that I'm using today to make money, which is my voice, to have this conversation with you, was the very thing that I have been afraid to use for so many years. Like, I cannot lie to you, like how many years I have been afraid to use my voice. So when I decided to bring the podcasting platform back, I wanted to be able to use my voice and I wanted to be able to talk to people who understood me and who got it. And I was like, I'm gonna talk to my nurse friends. Like, I love y'all. Like, what's up? So I made that commitment to come back and have nurse to nurse conversations. And I kind of chuckle because I was talking to a good friend and I was like, nurse to nurse podcast. And I was like, I'm literally on here talking to myself because I was a solo podcaster, right? Majority of my shows were solo. We did have a couple of guests on the podcast, but majority of the time it was just me talking to y'all. And so that's what it was about. And I thought that I wanted to make the podcast platform about talking to you all about building your brands and being a better nurse out in the field, right? And turning your education, your experience, and your expertise into a coaching practice. Like, that's really the conversation that I thought that I wanted to have with you. And as I'm growing, I see that the vision is growing and I see that there is a deeper love to serve. There is a greater inspiring and innovative kind of conversation. So this is where we're evolving to in season 2. So I just wanted to kind of share with you of why I kind of started there. Let me ask you, have you ever started something and really didn't know why you were starting it, but you were just obedient? Like, I'm just deciding to do the thing. The thing is in my belly, so I am just going to do the damn thing. Well, that was kind of Starshema. And I did it, and I am extremely grateful. So, goodbye, season 1. Hello, season 2. So let's talk about where season 2 is heading for us here on the podcast and why I still feel like you should be here. So is the podcast going away? No, girlfriend, no boyfriend, right? The podcast is not going away, but we are about to take it up a notch. This is what evolving looks like. And this sticks with me so much. Like, I remember complaining about buying the cost of this ticket to go see Oprah and sitting in nosebleeds for $600. But it was such a transformational experience. I feel foolish for ever complaining about it because she taught me so much and it was invaluable. Like, I think about the monetary aspect of it, but it really isn't what it is in comparison to the transformation that I got from her, right? So I remember sitting up in the nosebleeds in San Francisco, listening to Oprah, and Oprah began to tell her story. And she told her story how being a young journalist and she went to this really, really wealthy person's house, you know. So she stepped into a place where she aspired to be one day, right? She began to like dream. She said, you know, she was living in her house and literally her house can fit into the living room of this person's house that she was standing in. And then she said she went into the kitchen and she said she glanced out the window and she seen like 6 rows of trees or 6 trees, something like that. And she said she remember at that very moment of like praying to God and was like, God, when I get my house, like I want to look out my kitchen window and I want to have trees. And it was great to hear how her dream evolved. And this is what she was sharing with us is that the dream evolves as you take action, right? Sometimes we think in our minds we need to let it evolve in our thoughts before we take action, but it's such an ass backward approach. You really have to take the inspired action, not knowing, and then watch it evolve as it's grown. And so Oprah said she looked out her window in her home now in Hawaii, where she has over 3,000 trees, or it was thousands. Don't mishold me to the word, but it basically took a dream of dreaming for 6 trees to now having 3,000 trees. And because she continued to lean in and to do the things like this happened. And I think about that, yes, not on the exact scale, but thinking about where the podcast is going and thinking about starting without having all the pieces together or clearly understand where I'm going and then watching and allowing it to evolve. And this is what we're doing now, right? We are evolving into our next season of the podcast and we're going to do what I say. We're taking it up a notch. So I guess my thing to you is that I want to say is like, whatever it is that you want to do as a nurse, right? As a person, one, we associate our identity with our titles that we have. So we're all nurses, right? So we begin to take on that identity of that title. And sometimes we forget that we're human, right? So give yourself whatever it is that you want to do, whether your dream is to climb the corporate ladder and be the charge nurse or the nurse in charge of the organization, like the house manager, the house soup, like whatever that is, and that dream that you have in your belly, allow yourself to begin to take action. Perhaps some of you are looking for what ways can I get out, right? I want to do something more. This is where I started and this is where I want to serve. But how do I do more? And you're sitting there sometimes sitting in your head and trying to think it all through and then talking yourself out of it at the same time. All right, I'm going to sip my coffee on that. But I just want to give you permission to give yourself the opportunity to allow your dream to grow. And again, I'm going to bring it back. This is where the podcast is going. What's happening in season 2? Y'all ready? Are you ready? You ready? Drum roll. What's going on in season 2? All right. So in season 2, I would no longer be having nurse to nurse conversations by myself, y'all. We are bringing on a co-host. Kevin Stansberry has decided to come along board with me with the Nurse to Nurse podcast and be my co-host. You can expect that we will have special guests from time to time who will come in and have a conversation with us. We're going to talk about things, and our next first episode is going to talk about the mission of the podcast. But I think Kevin and I both goal is to come and have inspiring conversation with you to help you be a better professional, to help you be a better individual, and help support you along your way. So we're going to have real nurse to nurse conversations. Like that is hella cool, I think, because I've been talking to myself, y'all. And we've been talking together. Y'all been rolling with me. So we are excited about this next season. These are the things that's going to be happening. You're going to see our podcast drop days shift. Be sure to follow us on our social medias, whether we're on Instagram, whether we're on Facebook. We got some hot and exciting things for you. But again, season 2 is approaching, but we're not going to forget where we've come from, our following, and everything that we've had up until this point. I am extremely, extremely grateful for you. You know, this is what it looks like with starting a thing that you love, not knowing how it's going to work out, and just be willing and allowing it to evolve. So I'll see you in season 2 of the Nurse to Nurse podcast, where me and Kevin is going to have nurse to nurse conversations with you to help you level up, grow in your nursing profession, in your personal life, to be able to drive better quality care and create a positive impact in the world. All right, y'all. I'll see you in season 2. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Nurse to Nurse. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're feeling inspired and ready to build your personal brand and create a premium coaching practice in 90 days, visit www.iamstarshema.com/buildmybrand to start your journey today. For more information and updates, follow Starshema on Instagram at Nurse Coach Starshema RN and on Facebook at Starshema RN. Until next Friday, take care.